You ever taken any batteries out and sold the batteries?
No.
No?
1,000,000%. Believe them checks were mine. This has started to piss me off. Probably
That's your
that's my
signature.
handwriting, yeah.
You claimed 12 hours that day
Yeah.
when you weren't there.
Well, I can tell you this.
This is James Hansey, the chief of police of the Buckeye Lake Police Department. And his years of corruption and wrongdoing is about to be exposed in this ground-shaking interrogation. It all began on March 10th, 2018, when Hansey responded to a complaint and went over to a residence where he accidentally fired his weapon. Although no one was hurt, this incident led to an interrogation of the chief, which unveiled plenty of wrongdoings. To start the interrogation, detectives asked Hansey what really happened on that fateful day.
Tell me about what happened during the accidental shooting. Obviously, I've gotten stories, a couple of different, people told me, but, you're the guy that accidentally discharged a weapon, so I can't wait to hear from you, man.
Jeff Maiden and I were on our way back from Lancaster. We had ate at B-Dubs. We were coming down 79 and we were in the area of Buckeye Lake Beezer Village. And my telephone rang. It was from Darlene Witt-Hofer. I've known the family since, I was a firefighter with her brother Terry forever. And she's on the phone screaming, saying her aunt, she found her aunt in the middle of the road, and that two guys had broken into her aunt's house and held her at gunpoint. She was able to escape, but the gunman shot one guy. He was laying in the floor bleeding to death, and the gunman was still in the house. So we're right there between both entrances to Lee's Village, the main entrance and the second entrance.
To make matters worse, Hansey wasn't medically fit to be on duty. His doctor advised him to be on desk duty starting March 12th. Therefore, the chief was already in violation as he went to the crime scene and should have sent in a junior officer instead.
I wasn't even thinking of being on technically light duty.
Right.
Had no gun with me. And, with there someone possibly being in that house dying, you guys have done the same thing. You'd have went in. We had 3 people here, and we've been trained. I told Ritter, give me your handgun. Vermaiden went around the side of the trailer to see if there was a door on the back. I said, go get your rifle. We don't know what he's got. Give me your handgun. It's the same identical handgun that I've got. And we went in, cover 3. Vermaiden was the first one in the door, went to the right, because it's a single wide. Went in, and I went to the left, and I held the whole back of the trailer. And the trailer's really dark. And the only lights that's on is their flashlights and a TV in the very back room. I'm standing here, low ready, left hand, and all of a sudden something flashed. I thought someone was coming up, and when I came up, I hit a corner, and poof, went in the round, went in the floor.
Okay. Did you have your finger on the trigger or something when you went up?
I had, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was coming up to protect myself.
Right.
And I just hit that counter, and it just, pow.
The chief's finger had been amputated, and he made a bad decision to go inside the house. The detectives had plenty more questions as they continued grilling the chief.
Was there any conversation about not telling them about the accidental discharge?
Yes, there was.
Okay. Was that your call?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the rationale there?
Ritter likes to tell things, and for the integrity of the case, integrity of the accidental shooting, Ritter, you don't have to go tell everybody that we had an accidental shooting. Let's get this investigated first. Let's get it looked at. Let's save the integrity of the case right here before anybody, it's 1,700 people know.
Sure.
And that was the only reason. But no reason to hide anything. How can you hide an accidental discharge?
Makes it tough. Things go bang real loud.
Yeah, and you got a spent shell. We got the shell.
Okay.
Yeah, I sure did. I told him. Because he likes to tell. I called the mayor 6 times and she never called me back. She called Ritter instead of calling my phone. She does that a lot. Just the other day, she's standing there, Ritter's phone goes off. Call from Peggy Wells. He's talking to her. I walk up and say, why aren't you calling me? I'm the chief.
Right. That's true. Huh. So you guys got some communication barriers between you and the mayor, you would say?
From years, she's been on council for years, and yeah, she never liked the police department. She's actually picketed against the police the fire department. She don't like them. She had a big meeting with Randy Thorpe and, well, Billy was still there, and wanted to see about bringing them in and get rid of us, and Billy and them guys told him, you can't afford us.
Right.
You know, but when she took over mayor, and she took me in on January 19th, I told her, I said, all I want to do is my job.
Yeah.
I want to work with you. I have no hard feelings about nothing.
The chief also claimed that he didn't go well with the mayor. Although his stance was reasonably fair until now, this accidental shooting was only the tip of the iceberg as the detectives continued with some tough accusations.
The computer that you had at home, that your excuse was that you had to go home because you had some information on the computer at home that you didn't at work.
My computer at home is set up the same way the computer at the house. I mean, at the office.
Okay.
And if I was at my house doing stuff and writing, you can go to my house right now and I can show you the stuff that I've done, changing policies and changing things. I've had permission from our mayor, Kate Carroll, to go there.
Okay. Have you had permission from this mayor to go there?
No, and I haven't.
Okay. All right.
I wish I'd have brought my phone in. The times that they're probably talking about is I burnt my foot, right heel, really bad, clear to the bone. And I had to have a special boot. And it hurt to walk in it. And I would come in the mornings, I would get the mail like I was supposed to, I would check the phone recorders and do everything else. And then I would go to the house and do what I had to do. You know, but I always had my walkie right there, and they knew this.
Well, I think part of it too was they said they came over, you know, a couple of times, and you were just wearing shorts and a t-shirt, watching cops while you were on duty.
No.
And that was the, you know, and then when I checked the records, you had him logged down as hours that day. You know, but my concern is if you're at home that day, you know, and that's true. Let's say that's true what he's saying. You know, if you're just sitting around watching cops when you're supposed to be at work, that could be an issue.
Right.
Obviously, I mean, you're the chief of police. You wouldn't want one of your guys doing that, you know? So, I mean, you got to understand from, you know, our perspective, looking at numbers and looking at everything else that you know, are brought to us as a concern, we have to try to figure out why or justify why that's happening.
Right.
Hansi claimed that he had permission to work from home, but he never asked the new mayor about this. As chief of police, he could easily stay logged into the system while lounging at home, a blatant violation of the law. It's clear he was stealing money from the government.
Why do you think that is, Jimmy?
I would go home a lot, but I would not. I would be in blue jeans or my BDU pants and a shirt that always said police, and I would be doing the stuff that I was allowed to do on the computer for the mayor. And then I would go out and go get cards, tag numbers and stuff with the jump cards, and I would do my OLEG, and or write it up. I wouldn't do the OLEG at the house because I couldn't. I could only do it at the office. But I would write the jump card stuff up.
Okay.
I mean, just because if they come home and see me, I'm in a T-shirt that says police and I'm not wearing my full uniform with the badge and all this, everything else, doesn't mean that I'm cheating the system and not working.
What are your procedures for junking cars?
Junking cars?
Yeah, let's say you get a car in an impound, nobody comes and gets it. What is your procedures to get rid of that vehicle?
Run the thing through the state of Ohio. They come back and tell us if there's a lien on it. And then you send that person, or if there's a lien on it, you send that person 10-day notice. Or if there's no lien on it, you send that person, the owner, 10-day notice. And then if they don't collect it, or we get it back, they've got 10 days to pay the towing or anything like that. If not, then I go get a title from the BMV, and then we gather how many ever cars we got up, get 3 bids, and then people come out and look at the, you know, like junkyards or private people or whatever. They look at all the cars all at once and give you 3 bids, and the highest bidder gets them.
Okay. Have you ever taken any batteries out and sold the batteries?
No.
No? And the reason I'm asking in this setting, Jimmy, is this is a setting where under Gary Act, you can't be charged with what we're talking about. We can't talk about this criminally.
Right.
Okay, but if that comes out criminally, you know, there's going to be some issues probably with stealing. Okay, so there's been those allegations and a little more than just allegations. Very, very specific things that I've checked out that not making a lot of sense, okay? One of them especially being a water pump that was taken off of a truck for Randy.
The accusations against the chief kept piling up, growing more embarrassing by the minute. He was now being questioned about allegedly stealing and selling unclaimed car parts. Although this is only a suspicion, if it's true, it would be a shame for the entire police department.
You know, but what I don't want to see is something that, you know, you get charged for or go to jail for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
If anything was taken off them cars, the village already owned them, and they had permission from the mayor to take anything. I personally have never taken anything off the cars, out of the cars, anything. Now Randy and Mark Dimick has, yes, but they've always had permission, and they've never done anything until the vehicles were owned by the village.
Sure.
And they were going to the junk yard. They were getting loaded up that day or the next day and going to the junkyard to be crushed.
Okay. The village owned it. Did you take any batteries then after they owned it? Did the mayor say, hey, you can take these? I'm trying to, you know, explain it for myself in my head why I've had two people tell me the same thing now. Two different people. One, you know, that I would say is completely on your side. One that says maybe not completely on your side, and they're both telling me the same thing. So I'm trying to figure that out why in my head that would be the case. So is there a circumstance or an instance where you did take a battery or two after the mayor cleared it?
I've never taken a battery.
Never.
Never.
Okay.
Never.
All right. Well, I needed to ask you about that because, like I said, I've had a couple of them here. All right.
The detectives were not fully convinced with the chief's answers, as they once again questioned him about the 10th March incident.
Okay. So if one of your officers acted the same way you did, in the same manner, you wouldn't have a problem with that then at all. If they were not due to come back to work for 2 more days and they took a call in the village, they took a call, even though they're not cleared to come back for 2 more days, would you per se, do you have a problem with that?
If it was the same situation that I was put in,
Sure, call exactly the same.
no, I would not.
Okay. And why is that?
Because there was imminent risk of death. He was there. He had plenty enough people to take care of what the situation was. And I believe he has what word do I want to use?
You want to use probably duty to do something, right?
Yeah.
I assume that's where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I would not have a problem with that at all. I mean, the accidental discharge was very unfortunate and a bad timing, but, you know, no, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all.
The detectives then focused on a major issue within the department: the lack of hourly rate checks. This allowed anyone in power to manipulate their hours and walk away with a hefty paycheck. Shockingly, this scheme had been going on for over 2 years and was only uncovered now.
So then you're ultimately responsible for making sure the numbers are accurate when they go to Mary, who I assume Mary does some other report as well, or did at the time.
I have no clue. We just turn in our timesheets to her.
But you make a report for city council, or for village council. I'm sorry, if I keep calling city council, I'm
Yeah.
just used to this. You make a report for village council, right?
The end of the month, they would get a report.
Yes.
On with the fire department and every street department and everything else.
Right. And that report is done by who?
We're making,
Okay, so Vermaiden does the report. He does the report up, and I would assume, since you're the guy in charge ultimately, and you're the one responsible for numbers ultimately, you look at that report.
no.
You don't look at the report that Vermaiden's doing?
No, he would come in or on a Friday, when I'm off on Fridays,
Uh-huh.
and he knows Monday is the council meeting, he would do it up, and then he would take it over and give it to Valerie.
Let's go back, let's say the auxiliaries. Who keeps track of their numbers then? I got where paid guys are, Vermaiden's in charge of the paid guys. I got
For
that.
me,
So Vermaiden's also in charge of the
Yes.
auxiliaries. Okay? So when those numbers go over, do you check their numbers too to make sure that they're accurate? Because you said, like you said, you know who's coming and going in your police department.
well, you know, he'd put the hours down for them. They were, some of them worked 16 hours a week, a month. Some of them worked more.
And some of them worked less. In fact, a lot of them worked less.
I have no clue.
But you know who comes, but you know who's coming and going, Jimmy. That's the whole thing I want to get at. You know who's coming and going in the department, and there are people like Schilling. Is it Schilling? Schiller? I know he's
Jason Schilling.
Jason Schilling.
Yeah.
I talked to lots of people, and they said, he only comes during taser training. That's it. And he's listed for 16 hours a month,
Correct,
every single month.
correct. Because Frank Foster, our mayor,
Uh-huh.
said he did our radar, he did our taser, and he did what else did he do? Radar, taser.
It was later revealed that the department had been issuing paychecks for officers who weren't even showing up for duty. Now, the big question is, who was pocketing the extra money? Was it the chief himself, or was someone else manipulating the system behind the scenes?
It may not be 16 hours, I believe it is accurate because the mayor, Frank Foster, said, we will trade him this 16 hours a month if he continues to train us like
Right.
that. And that's the way we did it.
I understand what you're saying. I do. I get it. But, a guy like that's invaluable. But you want that guy to actually work. And when you're presenting those numbers to the village council, the numbers don't match what is actually going on. So if you're putting 16 hours down, it looks like that guy's been there for 16 hours that month. He put in at least 16 hours of time, right?
If you wanted to look at it that way, yes.
I don't know, I really don't know how else to look at it, Jimmy, when it comes to that, because, again, yeah, valuable guy, you want to keep him around, you want to keep him happy, but he's not putting the numbers in that you are saying he's putting in. But it's on there for 16 hours a month. Every month that she's been there, she's got 16 hours a month. I call her, she says, no, that's not accurate. I call the guy she rides with, Haas,
Jeff Haas.
Jeff says, no, she does not work 16 hours a month. Yeah,
Right.
you guys put 16 hours a month on that sheet.
Again,
You understand, that's a criminal charge. That could be a criminal charge to do all that
there's no
stuff.
monetary value.
There's no monetary value. You're making it public record. You're falsifying a public document because it's going over to village council. You see what I'm saying? So you're falsifying a document that goes over there. And I don't know why. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. But this is a place to explain it, Jimmy, if you're going to. This is where it gets explained.
You delegate something to someone, and you have faith in that person. And evidently, I shouldn't have had faith in that person.
Well, here's the thing. I delegate things to him all the time, constantly, because I'm a supervisor. But what I also do on the back end is I go and check to make sure they're done.
Right.
Not that I don't trust them, but being a supervisor, you have to make sure.
And that's what I should have done.
And let's.
By this time, Chief Hansey had been accused of fraud, but the worst was about to happen as he started to get enraged by the detective's line of questioning.
Let's go to these checks that were cashed for the insurance company. Now, I talked to the insurance company about those checks, and they had some pretty big issues with them.
Mm-hmm.
All right? That may be something that I'm going to have to turn over to somebody else to investigate criminally. If it gets to that point, I may have to do that.
What
I don't know
checks?
what the insurance checks that when you were transported to the hospital and you were supposed to pay, you were supposed to cash them, and you cashed 4 of them.
Oh Lord, you gotta be kidding me.
See, Jimmy, the problem with an internal investigation is once it starts rolling, it starts opening the door to all kinds of other stuff that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a duty now to at least address it and try to figure out what's going on. In this setting, again, you're under Garrity, okay? I can't use anything you say criminally, period. Okay?
Oh, I understand.
So, all right, I want you to understand that, before you.
This is funny. These checks, I honestly, wholeheartedly, with my life, believe they were my Aflac checks. Because I talked to John Curtis, you can call him and ask him, I got him in my phone. He says, you've got a check coming, and you're going to have checks coming for your follow-up visits. I just got a check, and you can run out to my truck, I'll give you the keys. I got $3,100 out there. I just got an Aflac check for this.
Okay.
I honestly, wholeheartedly, 1,000,000% believe them checks were mine. This is starting to piss me off. When I found out they weren't, I made arrangements and they were taking money out of my payroll every month.
They mentioned
I didn't fight the system because I honestly believed they were my checks.
Okay, so you guys have made arrangements to get it taken care of.
Yeah, there was arrangements taken care of.
Okay, perfect.
Every month that money came out.
Is it still coming out, or you gotta pay?
No, it's got to be paid off because they hadn't been taking their money out.
Okay. All right.
Guys, that upsets me.
But you gotta understand, if it's
I-
something like that.
not
by
you
Oakland's-
guys.
I understand, and you know, Jimmy, I don't want this to be an adversarial thing, man.
Yeah.
You know, I want this to be just all out there, and again, out of respect for you
Yeah.
and the job you've done for so long.
This was the first time something appeared to get on his nerves. Although he claimed it was an honest mistake, the detective still had to investigate the issue. A small investigation had led to all of the previous mess exposed.
Why are you allowing them to leave the office in the first place? I know that everybody's mentioned everybody's got stuff at home. Why has anybody got anything at home? Why does Jeffrey Maiden have any paperwork at home? Any files or anything else like that?
The only thing he would have at home would be his qualifications for us, and them are his copies. And then when Peggy was asking me about the qualifications, I didn't know Jeff had already put them all together, and they were in the cabinet right by his desk.
Gotcha.
So there was.
And let me ask you this, Jimmy. And again, this has got to stay here with this stuff. Did you guys ever kind of cheat your way through the qualifications? Because I looked at your qualifications, and you know, if you've shot, you've only missed one round, you know, throughout 3 different guns in a couple of different years, and then you went to try to qualify this time and couldn't hit anything. Something jumps out right there, and just for me as being an investigator. And then when I talked to everybody, they said they don't watch you qualify. No one's seen you qualify besides Vermeida.
I qualified before everybody because I was told that I have to watch them
Okay.
in case I have to testify in court. Yes, they did do well, and Vermaiden was their trainer.
Hansi was getting nervous with each passing minute. However, the biggest accusation was yet to be made about the chief stealing money from the dead.
And it's also fair to say that you're in charge of that. Ultimately, it's your department, your responsibility to make sure those numbers are accurate.
Them numbers were never, ever in the whole world ever meant to be accurate. That was just a summary of what we've done.
Okay.
The only thing accurate in that whole thing was the very front page. That was accuracy.
And it wasn't accurate because you guys missed Ritter's numbers on almost every month.
What do you mean?
Like Ritter's numbers that he had, your call volume is actually way bigger than you guys claim it is. You guys have more calls and did more things than you guys claim. Because you didn't factor Ritter's numbers in. All of Ritter's call records, all his calls, all his stats, even his hours worked, nobody calculated it.
The Ritter's not putting his stuff in the computer. And that would be the problem there with
Okay.
call volume.
What do you mean put stuff in the computer?
He's not typing his stuff in his CRs and call records in.
Ritter's name is not actually even on the list of auxiliary officers or part-time officers or full-time officers. His name's not even on a lot of it. So,
Steve's, is it?
no, so we wrote it in and put down the stats that he got, and your numbers actually rose. Instead of being down here, they actually rose a lot. So you guys aren't getting credit for a lot of stuff you're doing because his numbers aren't being calculated in that. So, you know, I don't think your village council is getting an accurate number, really, of anything. They're not getting an accurate number of how many people are coming out to work, their hours, or their call volume.
Finally, the detective came upon the real question. Did the chief steal any extra money for the hours he didn't work? Once again, the chief was unhappy with the accusation and went on an angry rant.
Were there any times, Jimmy, that you claimed some hours that you didn't actually work?
No. There's hours that I work that I don't put down on my timesheet.
So you working extra hours and not claiming?
Yes. My phone would ring constantly, and I'd have to go out. I never put all the hours down,
Right.
because I know we're short of money, and I didn't want to work myself out of a job. You can ask any mayor that.
Yeah. What's the most people you guys have had out at one time?
2,
2?
yeah, 3.
At any time, any given day. You guys aren't anywhere on there. You and Vermeiden are nowhere on there. On the call logs,
Right.
on the CR, nothing, 0.
What day was it?
April 25th, 2017, it was on a Tuesday. Ritter actually got called into work to cover for either you or Vermeiden, one of the two. He was not on his regular scheduled days.
Yeah, okay.
Do you remember that day? Do you remember going forward with Vermeiden?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It was on
We've
that.
been forward on several places.
Sure, that was on a Tuesday, and do you remember going to Perry State Forest? That's your timesheet, right?
$12 hours, 6 A to 6 P.
Yeah, you see the problem I'm having with that?
Yeah. That should have been, I didn't even finish this week.
Right. That's because somebody grabbed it and made a copy of it because they knew you were out four-wheeling when you were supposed to be at work. That's why that's there.
Now,
And because they were concerned that you were taking time off and doing things and claiming time for work.
yeah.
And that's why there's a copy of that. You probably did actually finish that timesheet, but that's a copy of the timesheet up until that point.
I think we do have the finished one.
And we do have the finished one.
And
So,
matches.
yeah, so that's your handwriting.
Probably
That's your
that's my
signature.
handwriting, yeah.
You claimed 12 hours that day
Yeah.
when you weren't there.
Well, I can tell you this,
At this time, one thing is pretty apparent. This entire police department is messed up and has a lot to change. However, most of the blame goes to James Hansey, the chief of police.
425.
And Vermaiden was with you, and Vermaiden claimed 6 hours.
why would he pay him 6 hours when he's supposed to work on Tuesday, he works noon to 10?
No idea.
So that should, I don't even know why that was put there. That was should have been noon to 10 instead of 4 to 10. And it'd have been 10 hours.
What time did you guys get back from that trip?
Oh hell, I don't remember.
Was it dark?
No.
Maybe he tried to come in later, I don't know. But he put down numbers too on that day that he wasn't at work. The
Right.
Ritter had to come in because the two of you were both gone. And the dispatch traffic had Ritter on there, not you guys.
Yeah.
And obviously,
Here, 4 to 11.
and you're being honest with me, that, you guys were out there on the 25th.
Oh yeah.
So
Right.
that's the problem, Jimmy. And when I turn this stuff over to Mayor Wells and to Village Council, they're probably gonna have an issue.
Well, you know what? This was not done on purpose. I probably should do my time sheet every day that I get done, and I didn't. That right there, the 25th, was not done on purpose. And I can understand it looks terrible.
But Jimmy, you just told me earlier that you do it like that you make sure that you don't put that ending on there until you're actually done.
I just started doing that
Okay, I gotcha.
because of all this issue of them saying time sheet this, time sheet that, time sheet this.
Right.
And pay is very,
This is, Jimmy, I don't know if you've ever seen this before. This is a couple years of people thinking that you're doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing.
As the detectives approached the end of the interrogation, the chief started to get restless. He eventually admitted that he had also made some mistakes.
I didn't turn in some hours because I knew I'd work myself out of a job. And that's the way it's always been. I'll give you an example, the reason why. Right before Mary left in December, I asked if we could get a window tint meter for $48. No, you don't have the money. Seriously?
Wow, 48 bucks?
$48. So that's the way we've always been in that village from day one I started. They don't give us nothing. We buy our own paper. We buy our own uniform. They give us a uniform allowance. But we buy our own boots and we buy our own guns and our belts and stuff that whatever the uniform allowance won't cover.
That reminds me of something though, Jimmy, I gotta ask you before you take off here. You threw away a bunch of property the other day. Yeah,
No, it was boxes and stuff like that.
okay. And one of them was one of our uniform shirts.
Yes,
I didn't
yes,
see that.
yeah.
Why'd you throw away our shirt?
It had been in the back of the property room forever.
So some of the stuff you threw away, was that property or just boxes? Because we found some dried up weed and all that stuff too out there. You understand, you gotta get court orders to throw that stuff out, right?
Right, that was just dirt.
Well, no matter how the department was running, it didn't give him the authority to steal from the government. He kept on proving his innocence for some time before the interview ended. After this investigation, the mayor filed 22 administrative counts against Hansey. In May 2018, Hansey was fired from his position and placed on diversion in October 2019. Since then, there have been no updates on him. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Today we saw just how flawed and corrupt some police departments can be. While this video focuses on one chief, it underscores the broader issues within law enforcement. We're still uncovering corruption in various public offices, and this case highlights why holding cops accountable is crucial for moving forward. If you agree with me, please consider showing your support by liking this video, and also make sure to subscribe to stay informed about future cases like these. Also, if you enjoyed this video, check out the next video here.